Now that there are officially 6 maps in Valorant, I think it's time we can finally rank the maps from best to worst. It's been a year since Valorant released, and there are clearly maps that are fan favorites and some that trigger certain players when they come up in ranked. What's going on, ProGuides family? It's your host Sergeant Frost, and today we have a Valorant map tier list for you guys. Of course, there's always our opinion on which maps feel better to play, so our least rated map could very well be your favorite. Anyways, let's jump right in. Let's start out this video with the most agreed upon best map in the Valorant community, Ascent. It seems that the first map the Valorant devs worked on also was the most well-designed map thus far. I mean, there have been devs that have said that this map's design was loosely based off of Cash and Dust 2 from CSGO, which have been time-tested classics from the Counter-Strike series. So it would only make sense that this map plays well in-game. One of the biggest criteria you'll hear us judging maps on is how well the map flows when playing in-game. Let me tell you, Ascent is personally my favorite map in the game, and a lot of people in the community seem to agree too. But the reason Ascent plays the best is because it has the best flow both on offense and defense. Ascent as a map follows the traditional 3-lane design that most first-person shooter games use for their map design. Not to mention, the reason why the map flows so well is because each bomb site has 2 different entrances that are connected to attacker spawn. This allows for a team to have options when deciding on which bomb site to hit, and it influences how both teams will move around the map. One of the biggest complaints about maps like Bind, Split, and Icebox is that the middle of the map is a complete death trap, or middle map is heavily defender-sided and there is no good way to safely get control of it. Ascent, on the other hand, has the most clean and fair mid design out of all the maps currently in the game. Defenders can play in Market or Pizza and use cover to stay relatively safe from a push. Most defenders will not venture past arches because there's plenty of cover for them to hide behind, and the middle area behind arches allows for defenders to set up easy crossfires in mid. Attackers have the option to smoke off arches, and this allows for them to either pressure back mid to get control of CT spawn, or take control of Market and heavily pressure B site. Don't forget that smoking off arches allows for attackers to fast push catwalk and contest tree room, which gives them a secondary entry point to A site. Ascent also has the map gimmick of having controllable doors, which allows for defenders to heavily control the flow of the map by denying attackers access to the alternative entrances of the bomb site. While these doors do work heavily in the favor of the defenders, they are certainly a double-edged sword. The controllable doors can also be controlled by attackers after they've taken control of a site. This can reroute defenders and make a retake attempt a lot harder than it normally should be. Everyone knows that the doors can be broken to get rid of this unnecessary site obstacle, but breaking the doors takes a lot of ammo and it makes a lot of noise. And making a large commotion trying to take one of the doors down can alert enemies to your presence, and it can give away your strategy before you even have a chance to execute it. Wrapping this map up, Ascent has a cool visual theme, it flows well, the middle of the map is fair for both sides and it gives great advantages when you control it, and the doors are a nice gimmick that can help both the attackers and defenders when used properly. Ascent is a map that statistically holds a 50-50 win rate both on attacker and defender sides, and this is a great statistic that makes a map fun to play and viable for teams in competitive play. If you want to make Ascent your power map in ranked, you should check out our website ProGuides.com to learn more about the ins and outs of this fantastic map from our high elo coaches. On our website, you can also learn how to divide and conquer the many maps in Valorant by accessing our courses written by pro players Psalm and Tens. Head over to our website today to access one-of-a-kind coaching and courses not available anywhere else. Moving on to our number 2 spot, we have to give the praise to the new map Breeze because there's a lot to like about this tropical island. Using our same standards of judging criteria for Breeze, this map flows really well, almost too well. It's no surprise to anyone that this is the biggest and most wide open map in the game, with only Icebox and Haven being comparable maps of similar size. But the reason Breeze is ranked above those maps is because Breeze doesn't commit the same mistakes in map design that those maps inherently have. One of the biggest problems Icebox and Haven suffered from was a lack of flank routes that allowed attackers to access bomb sites. Breeze has several ways to access both bomb sites, and most of these separate flank routes have plenty of cover and they don't have immediate access for defenders. So this allows for attackers to gain map control without being contested immediately off spawn. For example, on Breeze, there's a section in the middle of the map that is the metal hallway. This area has a door that allows access to the side of A site. This allows for attackers to not have to walk through the cave to infiltrate A site. On top of having A halls to get into A site, if attackers walk through middle, they can also get into A site through mid doors as well. This creates 3 different ways for attackers to access the A site, which inherently allows for attackers to have more freedom when getting creative with how they choose to attack and conquer sites. B site doesn't have as many options for entering site like A site does, but it does have several ways for attackers to sneakily surround the site. Off spawn, attackers can access B site through B main, or they can stay hidden in B elbow and quietly go mid to B from B tunnels. If the attackers have a lot of map control and a man advantage, they can even go through mid nest and wrap around through defender side arches to completely surround the bomb site. An open map design has also been a fresh addition to our current map pool, and it makes for a different set of strategies that honestly makes the utility game seem much less like throw a lot of utility so the enemies have a hard time reacting, and instead is more about careful map control to prevent running out of steam on the big bomb sites. The amount of options apparent in this less cramped map design starkly contrasts to Icebox, where every round seems to be an A or B rush simulation. Breeze is a fair map because it flows for attackers and defenders alike. There are plenty of flank routes and alternative ways to get around the map in secret, and these advantages work just as well for defenders as they do for the attackers. Breeze has a clean middle map with plenty of cover, along with multiple entry points for both bomb sites, so that there is no cluster choke points or kill hallways at all on the map. Breeze is a map that will challenge your aim because of the long-range gunfights you will inevitably get yourself into, but this map is one of the most fun and interesting maps we currently have in the entire game. Moving on to the tier list, let's talk about one of the quirkiest maps in the game that makes it a certified oddball on the roster of maps. Bind is one of the original 3 maps we got to test in beta, and this map stood out for both good and bad reasons. The quirk with this map is that there is no traditional mid area of the map, and there are 2 teleporters on the map that take you to the opposite side of the map when you walk through them. This map has the most inconsistent flow out of all 6 maps solely because of the lack of a middle section of the map, and because the teleporters prevent defenders from truly gaining map control. Bind is a map that heavily favors taking gunfights to gain map control, as opposed to lurking or defaulting. Bind is a map where dumping your utility on site and 5-man rushing a bomb site is often a strategy you will see used in solo queue. This is because map control is so hard to take, pug lobbies typically have no choice but to wide swing corners and take risky gunfights in hopes of creating a pick, which will usually allow them to take control over a bomb site. Not to mention that both bomb sites on Bind have lucrative back sites that are areas that are not wall bangable. This allows for defenders to maintain closer control of the site, which also can lead to easier retakes against attackers. B site has back halls and A site has heaven area, which are usually the hardest places on site to clear defenders out of when going for bomb site control. Bind is known as a defender-sided map, and the win rate statistics on this map back those claims up. While it's known that Bind can favor defenders, it's definitely not as defender-sided as a map like Split per se, because the attackers have a lot of options to out-rotate the defenders with the teleporters. These teleporters give map freedom to the attackers because they can force rotations out of the defenders, and then teleport away if the execute seems to take too long. A mind game attackers love to play on this map is to fake out a push on a site to trigger full rotations from defenders, and then they hit the teleporters to run to the opposite bomb site where most likely only one defender is holding due to rotations. Overall, Bind doesn't have as many problems like the other maps on this list, but it is certainly not without its sins. I can understand why many people dislike this map because not having a middle area of the map and the addition of the teleporters completely throws map flow out of the window. This can make the map very hard to attack for some pug lobbies, and it creates some very back and forth games in pro play. This map comes in third because while it's not perfect, it still provides for a very exciting game with some interesting playstyles such as double controllers. Before we continue, we have to have our question of the day. Today's question is, what is your favorite map, and do you think map-specific gimmicks are good? Just to list all the map-specific gimmicks, Haven has a 3 bomb site design, Bind has teleporters, Split has ropes that connect high and low ground, Icebox has horizontal ropes and you can plant on elevated areas, Breeze has a trap door chute, and Ascent has controllable doors. I think that the gimmicks can add identity to the maps, and sometimes they allow for innovative strategies. Personally, I like the gimmicks, but sometimes they can be annoying or they can get out of hand, like the 3 bomb site design on Haven. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Now, let's get right back into the video. Moving on to our 4th map, we have Haven. Haven was honestly the community's favorite map in the beta, but as the game evolved over time and the community started to learn the meta strategies for all the maps, Haven's problems started to become apparent. This map went from being defender-sided to quite attacker-sided over the course of a few acts. There are statistics to back this up too. Haven used to be the 2nd most defender-sided map after Split when the game released, and currently it is the only map to have an attacker-positive win rate outside of the map Icebox. So, what happened to Haven? It had one of the best map flows out of all the maps in the past with how information play and lurking played a larger role in the map control. Yet, why has it slipped out of favor with many players in rank play? There are 2 reasons why Haven has transformed from defender-sided to an attacker-sided map, and these reasons are why it has slowly started to feel less interactive of a map. The first reason is due to the fact that we are in an attacker-focused meta in the game right now, due to several duelist agent buffs and an overabundance of flashes being in the game. This made attacking sites a lot easier on Haven, and it puts defenders at a huge disadvantage because they have to spread themselves thin. Haven is a very wide map because of its 3 bomb site design, which means that defenders are very disconnected as they attempt to hold map control around all 3 bomb sites on the map. Many times there will be at least 2 defenders on one bomb site at any given time. Duelists and flash-heavy team comps take advantage of this because it's very easy to overwhelm a player holding a site because you can utility dump several flashes on site and you can use the duelist to clean them out of the site while they're still trying to recover. Attacker-based comps can simply overwhelm sites on this map because defenders can't afford to stack multiple players on one site like they can do on the other 5 maps in the game. The birth of the attacker-focused meta allowed teams to take advantage of Haven's map design and use the defender's rotational weaknesses to an extreme. The second reason why this map is attacker-sided is due to the devs nerfing certain agents. One of the main reasons Haven used to be so defender-sided was because Sentinels used to be able to completely lock down sites with their utility, which prevented attackers from 5-man rushing sites. After Sentinels got nerfed late last year, the Kings of Haven defense were not as strong as they once were. Haven's map meta changed swiftly last year with the fall of the defensive-minded Sentinels, and the rise of the attacker-minded Duelists and Initiators. This map's meta did a complete 180 because Sentinels are weak and Duelists and Flash Agents became strong in the same episode. All these changes made the meta very unstable for a short period of time last year, and this made the map philosophy on Haven change very quickly. Moving on to our 5th map, we have the controversial Split. I will admit that Split has gotten a lot better over time ever since they started slowly soft reworking the map after the game released last June. After several updates to the contour and blocking of the obstacles in the map, Split has felt a lot better slowly but surely. One of the biggest things we need to talk about that helped the map flow was opening up mid by adding a small box to jump on and getting rid of the pillar. This greatly helped out map flow by making mid more open, which in turn toned down on how choky the area was. This also helped attackers because now there are new angles attackers can hold as they go for control of mailroom and B heaven. Making mid more fair for both sides of the map made Split less defender-sided and a lot more fair for both teams, which in turn increased the map flow by a lot. Not to mention B-site became a lot more open when the devs widened the B main hallway, which made attacking B-site a lot easier than it used to be. Before the Split map update, B-site on Split was without a doubt the hardest site to attack in the entire game. After widening the B main hallway and adding a stack of boxes next to the pillar to block the line of sight, B-site became much better as an option to take, as opposed to the past when a single cipher or raise would make B-site very hard to take. Overall, Split has improved as a map with several updates, and the meta shifting from Sentinels to Duelists has made the map's meta a lot fairer for both sides. Before Icebox was introduced, Split was universally the most hated map in the game. Currently in Episode 2, Act 3, Split has come a long way to become more viable, but I think many of us still have memories of darker days on this map. Wrapping up this tier list, we have the most disliked and controversial map in the game, Icebox. This is a map you either love or hate, and for most of us in ranked play, it's usually the latter. So why is Icebox at the bottom of our list? Well, there's a lot of reasons why this map triggers so many people and why it's universally disliked by the ranked community and casual community. This map has flow per se, and it does have a traditional mid area of the map, but for some reason it just feels like this map is a death trap no matter where you go. I attribute this death trap feeling to there being multiple kill hallways and choke points that defenders can hold on to on both sides of the map. But here's the kicker with this map. Even though it feels heavily defender-sided, it's actually the most attacker-sided map in the game according to win rate statistics. One big reason that I think this is the case is due to the verticality of the map. For defenders, the fact that defending a site push means having to look up and down at every angle makes holding a site a nightmare at times, especially with how cramped sites are. This makes it very easy for attackers to overwhelm a site with a lot of utility and manpower, while the defenders can only watch or try to trade 1-for-1 before losing the site. Typically, this isn't as big of a problem because sites can be retaken in a similar manner, but when this becomes the only way to play the map, teams that are winning will end up having all the momentum to just close out the match because there's literally no other counterplay. While there is a mid area, there isn't much mid presence or control necessary to make this map's gameplay feel varied. Most of the times, defenders have very dangerous times flanking, so mid control isn't very necessary to prevent attackers from coming. Meanwhile, attackers don't really care about mid because attacking sites is so favorable with how cramped the sites are, as well as how verticality favors the attacker's side. Similarly, there are too many places for attackers to hide and post plant that make it a lot harder for defenders to flush them out when they have less than 40 seconds to defuse the spike. Not to mention that Icebox has the same problems that Haven does, where the map is extremely wide, which means that defenders are generally very spread out, and oftentimes they will not have nearby help if they get into a sticky situation. This map just feels very brute force reliant, as that is the only way to truly gain map control. I feel like Icebox is a map that heavily punishes mistakes and weaker teams, while also feeling like solo plays aren't very impactful due to how the map is played. Well guys, that's all we have for our map tier list. Definitely let us know what you think about our tier list and what your favorite maps are. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to hit that bell notification icon to stay ahead of the competition with the latest Valorant news, updates, and guides. This has been your host, Sergeant Frost, and I will see you all in the next one.